Hey, what's going on, Taco fam? So I know you're probably tired of seeing branded like deck profiles, especially because it's pretty much the same. But yesterday I entered a 3K at a really cool place called Charlie's Collectible Show. I'll see if I could try to find a link to their page and then put it down in the description for you. But you should go check them out. Really cool place. Held a 3K. There were 73 players. A lot of good names were there. Jeremy Mitchell, he ended up winning. Uh, Aaron Levy, he ended up topping, and there was a couple others as well. But I mainly want to talk about some of the side deck stuff too, and things that I did, and talk about a lot of my matchups and stuff. Try to remember them the best way I can. All right. So, not really much, pretty much changed for the deck at all, except for like one change, but 3 Aluber and 3 Albaz. As I say, they won't change. Then for my Spellcasters, I still played the 2 Quim, and I still played the 2 Cartesia. I'm actually glad I really played the second Quim because I played against a lot of cash. And like my last 4 rounds were all cash, and I'll get to that in a second, but this card got banished off of Rise Heart, one of them, and it was really good that I still had one in deck to use. Even outside of that, I personally think it's pretty good because if she gets banished, there's ways to get her back, but it takes a lot of loops, and you don't really want to do that. And Cartesia was pretty good too, as we know. Then for the Albaz family, Albion, Kit, and Mercarier, not much has changed about this. I still think they're all needed. So in the last round, the reason why I didn't make it, I ended up losing because game 3, his Rise Heart banished both of these. So all the utility I would have had with having him in my deck was gone. And this is the only one of the targets that were left. And I ended up drawing this for the final turn before I had the scoop. So imagine if it was one of these two, then I would have been back into the game because I had a Dragostapelia and my opponent top decked something crazy because his board was just a Fenrir because I broke his board finally again and almost had a chance to come back. But I had the Drago for the Fenrir, and he top decked Theosis, which is the last one he had in the deck. So it was just really unlucky. So I ended up losing because of that. And then the 2 Bestials. These are actually really good. I lost one game to Cash because game 3, I did not expect him to hard draw the Ibli. And he went first, hard drew the Ibli, and I couldn't see Saranir. And I didn't even bother deciding any other Bestials because they're not very good in the matchup, which could have potentially been a mistake, but at the same time, if he didn't draw them, then what would have really happened? So it's a lot of what ifs. But I had a couple outs to the Ibli, I just didn't draw them, and I was dead the next turn because he had too much stuff. And then for the spells, we got 3 Fusion, 3 Opening, 3 Nadir, and 3 Deployment. None of this changes, pretty much. I think they're all still needed at 3, personally. Some people play 2 Deployment and stuff, but which I can understand, but I prefer not to. I actually kind of want to come up with a build with a lore in the deck, but I pretty much built my deck to be cash, and I didn't want it to be inconsistent. So I played 1 red, High Spirits, white, and of course we played the Lost. This card was cool. It came up a couple times, but the real star of the show out of all those was red. Red was really good the whole day. And then for my non-engine choices, so I decided to up book to 3. That was one of the changes. So as y'all saw, I'm not maining the Jaugen. I am siding it. I just wanted to have at least 1 card in the deck that just really good against cash, and it helped me against a lot of the cash matchups too. And it was good against some of the trap matchups too, where I could dodge like skill drains and stuff, but I just put my guys face down. So that was really good. Then the MVPs, these cards were insane. Like Thrust was really good. I drew it every time I needed it. On the last round, it did sort of brick me, but I had to try to get myself back into the game. I had to outplay my opponent the best way I could and to make use of the Thrust, and it ended up putting me back into the scenario that I was talking about with the Dragostapelia. But like I said, I did lose to an unfortunate top deck on his part, but it's all right. Talents was good too. I did get Talents a lot. Didn't get shifted at all, which is kind of crazy, but kind of lucked out on that one. And I didn't get thrusted that much. I got Talenced a lot and Ashed a lot, which didn't really matter. But one of the talents was pretty crazy in that last game, though. But then Call By. This card was silly. This card actually won me one of my cash matchups. Because post side, I do put in Jowgen. And I did not expect him to play Bell against me. I expected more Bestials than anything. And no, that wasn't the case. Because I was trying to Sanctify him, and he was like, Bell. And I was like, Chain Call By. And turning off that Bell for 2 turns was so good. Because the next turn, he actually told me after the match he drew another Bell. So this card was actually insane. And thanks to my boy CJ, he told me to play this because I was playing Duster instead. But even if it was Duster, it didn't matter because post side, I was going first. So Duster was already coming out for this anyway because I was hard going first. Then my 2 traps, Retribution and Fusion Deployment. Deployment's really good too. There were so many times I would set up plays where I would intentionally play my whole turn without Branded Fusion, especially if I drew this. And I would use Quim to send Branded Fusion so that I could still do the same thing during their turn to Jowgen lock them without having to worry about the Ash, because my opponent revealed that he did have Ash. I just didn't play into it. And like, there's a lot of cards that he could have Ash, but obviously it's correct to save it for Fusion. But I went the whole turn without it, so he had an Ash stuck in his hand. For the extra, not really much has changed. These 5 typically stay the same. Even with cash, it don't matter. They don't even target this guy. They're more scared of Sanctify and Rembrandt now. So, for a good reason. But 2 Jade, 2 Albion, and Lubellion. Pretty standard. Pretty good to me. This card was MVP as well. And so was this, actually. There was a couple times where I would build a board with both of these. And, like, you just can't super poly them. And this pretty much allows you to always Jowgen lock them because they can't target this. So most of the negation targets right now. So, and nobody's really playing Droplet because cash is a deck. So these cards are pretty solid. Rembrandt was crazy. I summoned it once against cash. It was cool. I didn't care that it got banished or whatever. It was just the fact that it was able to help me break the board. And so my thrust would be live as well. At most times I just sent this with Mirror Jade, and then him just bringing Albaz back every turn was crazy. Titan, this was cool. I did not summon it, but I sent it a lot. Sprint, I summoned it a lot. It was actually really good for like clearing bursts and stuff. And then the 2 Grand Guignol, this card was really good as well. Not really much to say about it. Aquarius was actually really good too. I'm glad I did put him back in my deck. It seemed like it belonged in the deck, and it was really good to help me not die as well. Then the last 2, the Drago and the Chimera, both of these cards are crazy as well. I know I said that about a lot of the cards, but every card in the deck came up, and I'm glad that I played everything that I did and the ratios I played them at. This was really good against the trap matchups. Like I said, whenever you just straight up have Book of Moon, you could use this under Skill Drain to flip it face down. So that was really good. And this was actually good because I summoned this a lot against cash just to make their guys level 1. And it's good in the mirror, so you can use it with Queritus too. Side deck. So I played 3 Bestials. This is another change I made. I was playing 3 Magna, but my boy told me I should definitely just play Druids just to have more variety. And it makes sense. He understood why I wanted to play 3 Magna, but it was just better to play the Druids as well. I didn't draw any Bestials at all today, really. The only one I did draw once was Lubellion, and it did win me a game. So there was those. So I went back to what I was doing prior. So I played Sage the Fleur. This card was crazy, and it won me one of my matchups, and I'll tell you about that after I explain why I played it. So I played it because I wanted to be able to out Floodgates and have another way to out Arise Heart without having to like play into like, I don't know, anti-spells and stuff like that. And it was good for popping those kind of cards as well. But just threatening the Arise Heart to use this effect early is really good. Cool thing about this card, you can target 2 cards. It doesn't matter what happens to them. She summons herself first and then attempts to pop the card. So even if they clear the card with a Rise Heart that I'm targeting with my monster, she still gets summoned and she still attempts to blow them up. So it doesn't even matter all that much. And the reason why she was good, because I did play against Dynamorphia, and it was actually really good. So on his turn, he ended up setting 5, but before he ended up setting 5, he initially set 3, demise into 3 cards, which is crazy. And then he hit a duality. Duality hit a judgment. So I knew what I needed to do. I needed to try to threaten it, Chimera with it, so I could stop him from making Rex. Because at the time, I was going to have to play a little bit weird to try to get around Rex, but it came up. I would summon my Queritus to the field. He was like, yeah, that's fine. Then I was like, Sage the Fleur effect, target the Queritus and the 2 unknown cards that he didn't set because before the demise. I mean, like after the demise. So I had to take a gamble. I lost the game if I didn't hit the judgment. The reason why is because I had Duster. So I really needed to hit the judgment. And I took the 50-50 and I ended up getting lucky. I hit the judgment and then I was able to go Duster. He didn't have another one, hit 2 Ferret Flames and summon his other cards like Torrential and Strike or something like that. And I was straight up able to win right there because I didn't have to worry about anything else. So this card was really good. I suggest y'all play it too for like floodgates and stuff like that. Next, I played some hand traps in the side deck. So the 3 Droll and the 3 Ash. So the Sage also counts as a hand trap too, sort of. But I sided these all in whenever I needed them. Ash was kind of mid. I didn't really draw it. I drew it like once and it actually didn't do anything. So it's mainly for the mirror, I guess, just to have it. But Droll was okay. I used it maybe like once or twice. I drew it like once or twice, and it was good to stop for a turn. But one of the turns I used it, they had enough to stop me, so I ended up having to pass it back to them, and they was able to kill me that game. So we ended up having to go to a game 3. So yeah, that's why I don't really like hand traps and branded, because unless you're guaranteed to kill them, it does not do nothing, especially with these, because they're like negs. This is really good against branded, so it's kind of good just to have it in there. But when I needed it against cash, I just didn't draw this card. And this card helped me against, not a Rise Heart, but Theosis would have been really good. But I guess you still want to play them, because just to stop them if you can. And my boy Jowgen, he was actually the best card in my deck all day. So he won me so many games because this card just says you get another turn. Yes, I could be playing Puppet, but Puppet takes like 2 or 3 cards to function, and you got to discard some cards too. Versus the Jowgen, making them waste their battle phase. They have to normal summon something, kill it. You live, and then you get a chance to play next turn because now all your other interruptions, you can save them for their turn. And one of my cash opponents, he tried to evenly me. So when he went to battle, I would just give him one of my monsters and give me Jowgen. So yeah, that was really tight. Duster, this card was really good. It helped in a lot of matchups out in like certain floodgates, and it helped me in the Dynamorphia matchup, as y'all heard. And I know people will laugh at Dynamorphia, but no, that deck's crazy, especially for those who don't know how to play around that deck. And that he was doing really well. We were both, I think, X1 at the time. It was like round 4 or something like that, because there were 7 rounds. So he was actually, we were both at top tables playing what we were playing. So luckily I was able to pull that one through. Banishment, I only play this for the mirror match. It's okay if you bring it in against other matchups so you could try to get to a Drago or just for a Reborn, but I didn't think it was necessary enough, especially based on what they would be siding in anyway. And the 2 virus cards. These are still the same. These are just thrust targets. Didn't side this in because I didn't play against no Sprite. And I sided this in a couple times. I got to it once, and it was against Dynamorphia, but it didn't matter because the game actually was already over before then, or before I needed to use it. But I still think these are worth playing. And as y'all saw in the German Nationals, this won the final. So yeah, this card's really good. It's good for out and stuff like floodgates that we can't out. And playing the bestials with these cards kind of make it free. And like I said, you can thrust into it. All right, guys, so that was my profile, my report. So I'm going to tell you how each of my rounds went. So round 1, I played against Tyr. Unfortunately, I ended up losing that one. I know what y'all going to say, Tyr sucks right now. Yeah, I guess, but this man was drawing everything as if everything was still at 3. Because he milled both games that we played, he milled both my Albaz and all my 1-ofs. So what does your deck do without having access to red or any of your other cards, and all 3 Albaz are in the grave? There's literally nothing I could have done. I had to try to play with other cards, and it just wasn't enough. Round 2, because we had an odd number of players, I ended up getting a bye, so that was cool. Got a chance to check out what everybody else is playing and stuff like that. Round 3, I ended up playing against one of my teammates. I ended up playing against him. He was playing Dragon Link. Deck was really good. I ended up winning that game. Round 4, that was Dynamorphia. That match was crazy. And boy, when I tell you that deck is scary, because game 2 I got OTK. This man's life was at 16, like 1-6, and he used Rex to make all my guys 16 and just OTK'd me. So, and then game 3, as I explained, I was able to win because of the Duster, because games 1 and 3 I ended up winning with Duster. Game 1 I thrusted into Duster, and obviously he wasn't main in Judgment, so I was able to win that one. Game 2, it was a grind, but I just couldn't win. I couldn't out the Rex, and I couldn't get to like a Book of Moon to flip it face down. And even if I did, he had a Judgment for it, so it didn't even matter. And game 3, I ended up winning. Then we got round 5. So the rest of the rounds, I played against all cash. All 3. Unfortunately, I ended up losing 2 of them. The first one, I lost in game 3 because I didn't expect the Ibli game 3 and everything, but my opponent, he was pretty cool. He was, gave me some props, saying I did play all the games very well. It's just game 3, there was nothing I could do. I didn't draw an out to the Ibli, and he already had a board set up. So what do I do against that? You don't. Unless you draw an out to the Ibli, there was nothing you could do, because all his stuff was in defense. All Mirage was able to be there to protect something too. So I literally needed to draw a Book of Moon, or I needed to draw Saronir specifically. And if I didn't draw one of those 4 cards, the game was over. So I drew for my turn, didn't draw it, couldn't play into it because I had too many normal summons, and he did have back row, so yeah, that was pretty much wraps for me. And round 6, played against Cash. I ended up winning that one because of Jowgen in both games. That was a game where I drew the call by for the bells, so that was really good. And then the last round, round 7, like I said, my opponent drew Theosis at the last minute, the last one in his deck, because we was in a grind game, and I was whittling him down, and I finally swung it back into my favor, and then he top decked that, and there was nothing I could have done. So yeah, that was unfortunate for me. And then I drew Mercurier for my follow-in turn, so the game was over. So that was my tournament experience. Unfortunately, I was so close, and we looked at the standings based on our tiebreakers and stuff. If I did win that last round, I would have made 7th place, and it was a top 8 cut. So that was unfortunate, but you live and you learn. I played as correct as I could the whole day. So that's all I could ask for, and ended up getting props by a lot of people because I was the only branded player left at the end. Me and my other teammate, we were the only ones that were pretty far in the tournament and at the top table. So either way, cool event. Thanks to Charlie's for hosting everything. A cool place. I'll definitely try to see if I can find a link for you guys. All right. Let me know what y'all think about the video. Leave your thoughts and everything. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.